Hi guys, it's Wendy Kay with Hummingbird Studios. I'm here with the fourth installment, or the fourth tip, in multitasking for the multimedia artist, especially for the ADD artist like myself, that likes to do many different books and many different projects all at the same time. So we're talking about just small tips that you may already know, but you may not put into use, or you may just need to see how somebody else puts them into use. So that's what I'm putting out there for everybody to see today. So let's recap. Our first tip was to remember that just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's practical. Just because it looks like Martha Stewart doesn't mean it's going to work on a day-to-day basis on your studio table. Now, there are ways to make things pretty, but let's remember that things have to be practical and right at our hands to be able to grab them first, rather than have the perfect, pretty little magazine look to it. So that was my first suggestion, to remember that just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's practical, although sometimes it can be both, and we can try for both. Number two was to remember to keep your items separate. Remember when you were a child, get that duct tape out and you duct taped across the center of the room because you didn't want your little sister on your half of the room. Well, basically, you either divide up or duct tape up your studio into sections, printmaking, or by the different books that you're working on. Or as I've done, and I've left, if you'll look at one of the previous posts, I want to say it's the second or the third tip, I put a picture of a huge shelf that I have in my room that I keep all my work on, out where I can see, out of sight, out of mind, especially with ADD artists. So we put, we divided everything up on my shelf to where I can see the book and I can see the project. So get out that duct tape, quote, metaphorically, and divide up your space so that you don't have things piled up and you can see your projects and keep up with all of them at once. The third one was, if there is paint on that brush, still use it. And the point of that is that you can work on many different things at one time. If you are painting something and you have paint left on your brush, take the rest, rather than stick it in that water and getting rid of it, put it on your next substrate. Put it on a couple of pages in your journal. Look at your other things that you're working on, see if you can use that color, and put it on something that's working with that. I will literally jump from piece to piece and do blue on one canvas or board, and then go to my journal and put blue in another section because I'm working in Creative Entrepreneur, and put blue in another section there. So and then when all of the blue is out of that brush, then I finally will put it in the water. So I'm very, very picky about how full my brush is when I put it in the water, because we all know this stuff is not cheap. So we get to the fourth one today. The fourth one today is simply ask for help. There are so many artists and so many blog members out there that are willing to share, like me, and I might be willing to share a little bit too much. And I love to talk, so I'm trying to keep this video down short today for you guys, because my videos have been running about 15 minutes, so I want to shorten down for you today. Today, I want you to know that I've contacted, literally out of all the books I've worked at, I've contacted 3 authors, and they have either Facebooked me, emailed me back, or Twittered, or all of the many social medias that we have out there. They contacted me. Just because they're an author doesn't mean that they are too good to answer our questions. And in fact, they want to. They want to so much. I've contacted Pam Carricker. She's helped me out. In fact, I just bought a whole lot of paints from her because she had extras for sale on Facebook. So, but probably one of the biggest helpers I've had, and I'm going to throw a big old, I don't want to say throw a bone, because April certainly doesn't need bones thrown because she is doing so well, but I want to throw a big shout out to April Bowles, who helps you to work with social media with your small business. She is at blacksburgbell.com, and I'll have that on this post where you can get to it. She gave a webinar on blogging. And I think it cost $39, $49. It was one of the most productive hours of my life. And the notes I took, I'm still going through. And I have emailed April no less than 4 or 5 times. She's emailed me back every time. And she's helped me. So, and just because these guys we look up to, like I look up to Pam Carricker so much, and now I'm buying paints from her and chatting with her on Facebook. So just because these guys have done these great books and we look up to them and we follow them, doesn't mean that they're not out there working and struggling and looking for new ideas just like we are. So open up to them, go to their website, contact them, Facebook them. They will be there to help, I promise you. Now, to also, April is also doing an Etsy has also done an Etsy symposium. And if you'll go to the Etsy video section and look up Etsy Symposium, you will be able to see April talk and do some more share some more of her knowledge on working with Etsy and selling your product and building your business. So once again, I'll have the link for blacksburgbell.com, which is April's site. I want to also share, you can also work with and ask for help from artists that are right here that you know, not just artists that are out in cyberland. This is a giant key, and I know it's the last thing you expected me to hold up. A giant cardboard key. This artist, and he will remain nameless because I have not gotten his permission. His work is taking daily things and creating them in large scale, like a set of keys. And he's calling this, he made an entire set of keys. And he made the entire set in cardboard, but he wanted one of them collaged. And he knows that's my specialty. So he asked me for help. So he and I are working together on just this one piece. And he'll have an entire set of keys on the ring, and only one of them will be collaged. And that will be the one that hopefully people focus on. And just to share a tip for today, I tea stained the cardboard because I wanted to stay true to what the rest of the set of keys was going to look like. And then I wanted to put quotes that had to do with keys on them. For example, beware of the door with too many keys. Have you seen my keys? Which is what he's actually calling the piece, which I think is hysterical because how many times have you heard yourself or your wife or your husband say, have you seen my keys? Another one is no one can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. There's a ton of quotes. One of them that was my favorite was that a soulmate in life is someone who has a lock, and you figure out the keys. And I thought that was just adorable, considering that I have been lucky enough to find my soulmate and my husband. But I did want to share one tip with you before I go today, that what I'm doing to help this artist. I'm actually getting to help someone. I could not find a paper that would, because I tea stained the newspaper, collaged it completely over. I couldn't find a paper to go over it with the quotes that really fit in. So what I did was I tea stained a whole bunch of newspaper. And then I taped it. Here's the tea stained newspaper. I taped it to the back of a blank piece of paper, and I ran the tea stained newspaper through my printer, and I printed the quotes nice and big and bold on the tea stain newspaper. I'm shaking. So that you could see it better, but you still had that background of the newspaper. And as you can see, I think that the quotes have fit in quite well. And it's all going to go very well. I hope that he's pleased with it. So that was an artist asking me for help. So in conclusion, the biggest thing you can do is remember you're not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. We've got each other. We can look at each other's blogs. We can look at each other's ideas. That's why I'm sharing my ideas and hoping that people are out there looking. And all of these are ideas, like I've said, that you've heard before, you've read in books before, but these are things that I'm doing to implement all those things that are in those books, and I just wanted to share with you. Remember April Bowles, at blacksburgbell.com, and once again I'll put the link up. Pam Carricker, if you Facebook her, she's going to be an amazing, and she's the author of Art at the Speed of Life. B. Shea, also, you can get a hold of her, who was the author of Collage Lab, who I worked with earlier in my second post. So don't be afraid to approach these authors. They're out there to help us. And don't be afraid to approach someone that is working on another blog. I'm just another artist struggling, selling my work one piece at a time, and teaching art, thank God, in the meantime, and able to pass down this talent. Not talent, because I think a lot of them have more talent than me, to pass down the culture of art to students that are 13 and 14, and hopefully it's sticking with them. So, the next one is going to be number 5 is, I'm going to wait. I have a little note here about what number 5 is about, but I'm going to wait. You have to check back. So, once again, this is Wendy K, Hummingbird Studios. Check out my Etsy shop. Check out my work for sale at White Pines Gallery. And but more importantly than that, set that aside, take a look at my blog, have some fun. If you have any questions, please comment. And that's my biggest thing. I would rather get comments than sales. So you guys give me a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Let me see what's going on in your blog. Share your blog with me, and we can all just help each other out. All right, guys. Wendy K at Hummingbird Studios, and she's reaching in, getting real close to the camera like we'd always do. Have a great one, and peace to everybody.